Hello, and welcome to After Hours Authors. My name is Jess, and like you, I love writing fiction after hours. And today I want to talk about developing characters for your stories or your books. And it's a bit of an art form and it takes time. So I want to talk about kind of the key aspects of strong characters. And the first point I want to talk about is how do you create unique individual characters without just copying the book next door. So, individuality is built on a believable mix of characteristics. So, how many times have you read a book or watched a movie and there's the classic trope character? It's very binary and it's like there's the emotional character, the dopey character, the smart one, the sexy one. No, we can't keep making these characters so binary and so capsuled and so finished. There has to be a but. They need limits and opposites. So make them smart with tech, but they have never studied the tech they have to solve. They can't have the magic solution for all the tech problems. Give them incredible social skills that help them navigate social settings with charisma, but they get carried away by the party and that jeopardizes plans. Give them amazing physical abilities. Maybe they're super strong or super fast, but a deep sense of imposter syndrome or a lack of confidence in using those abilities. So contrast the good and the bad into one character, build limitations on their skills and abilities, and don't allow them to become too singular. Another thing to watch out for is creating a cast of characters where each character has one strength only, and with their powers combined, the solution is reached. It's a little too easy. I always imagine the cast of Ocean's 11, how they've got the bomb tech and they've got the thief and they've got, the mastermind of the plan and they've got the woman. Like, they always do that in so many films. It's so cliche and it's a bit too easy and you kind of glide through the story on cruise control. I want to see more friction. We need more complexity and gaps that characters have to step into or find a way to fill. Something I'm also seeing a lot of in books recently is authors literally copying other authors' characters. So a great example is the classic female protagonist who shouldn't have been picked for the strong fighter role, but she was picked. It was her destiny, it was her fate. She should have been a quiet, studious nerd, but instead was chosen by the gods or a fearsome creature. It's been overdone. It's overcooked. Don't just copy another book's characters. Yes, it worked for that book. But let's come up with something fresh. Now, the next key thing you need to give your characters is conflict. We need to make it harder. We need to build barriers to entry. And there's two ways you can do it. You can build internal conflict, so that's an internal struggle that they need to overcome or find a way to solve, or an external conflict. So this bounces off the back of what I just shared about giving characters a limitation internally. Give them limitations externally as well. The whole reason stories are interesting is not because of the plot, it's because there's friction and characters are running into that zone of friction. Don't let anything be too easy. Give them a scenario or a person they would never want to face, but are forced to. So imagine all the ways that they'd respond to that and the repercussions of those actions or those words, and write that down. Now, the last thing, and probably my biggest point for character development, is to give your characters choices. So consider all the choices each character could make in your story, but have a solid reason as to why they picked the one they picked. I've seen a ton of authors online using a linear plotting system to create character arcs, and while I understand how helpful this can be, especially when you're just trying to get things out of your head, I fear it's a bit too straightforward and linear. It kind of encourages this beginning, middle, end. It's a bit too, starting broken, ending fixed. And it's a little too simple. Whereas when I think about our own lives, we take a lot of side steps and backward steps and then forward steps and then another backward step. It's never a straight line. So I have a different concept for how we plot that journey for characters, and it's more of a garden with stepping stones. So think of it like stepping stones on a garden path that weave around a garden. There are lots of ways to move, and it comes down to your choices. This allows characters to move in a number of directions, not just forward. You need to leave stepping stones open for a character to move forward or sideways through growth or challenge or conflict. So if there's a conflict between characters and somehow they need to meet in the middle, in this analogy, they need to take a step towards each other on these garden steps, have them develop a skill or come to a realization or change their behavior to find a way to connect with the other character. And this is how character arcs are built. They start here, they move to the left, they move forward, they move to the right, they take a step back, they take 2 steps forward, and they end over here. And this is the line of stepping stones they've chosen to follow. So this stepping stone concept leaves room for natural dynamic movements. They might go left, right, they might push a character away, they might pull a character towards them, they might avoid a particular stepping stone, they might skirt around the edges. It's more dynamic and a bit more realistic. So the way characters are and how they engage, it's the basis of your story. We are all pushed and pulled in our lives in different directions, and some things are intentional choices and some things are forced onto us. And remember, I think a lot of authors are very scared about leaving characters unresolved at the end of a story. Remember though that that's reflective of life. How many people do you know in their lives who never go to therapy, never get the help they need, never make a decision, never resolve something? It's actually a normal human outcome to not always fix everything or not always learn something or not always come to a resolution. So don't be afraid of leaving things hanging. Now, my sneaky last tip is to make them human. I think this goes without saying, but even if your characters are otherworldly or non-human, relatability is really critical. So even the biggest villains have insecurities, whether it's about winning or filling a hole in themselves, or proving themselves to be better than their father or mother was. You got to give them a scar, a flaw, a crack in the china, where suddenly they're just a normal person, motivated by sadness, loneliness, anger, insecurity, or a need for wholeness or seeking connection. The villain or the good guy is always a veil for something else. So build depth into your characters by knowing what lies beyond that veil. Now, on a practical level, there's a couple of different ways that you can prep your characters. So this is where I'm talking sitting down with a pen and paper or at your computer and kind of plotting out who your characters are. You can write a character profile. A lot of authors do this. They might include details about their physical form. Are they short? Are they tall? What's their ethnicity, their gender, their features, movement, voice? You might talk about their sociology. Who are the people that they come from? What's their psychology? Are we talking anxiety, depression? What are we talking? What's going on in their mind? What are they shaped by? What's been their history, their experiences, their decisions in the past? So that's one way you can do it. You can create a garden with stepping stones on a piece of paper. And the stones can be the scenes or the plot points or the choices that character makes. And you can sketch each character's journey over those garden stepping stones. I saw somebody online say that they write a journal piece from each character, and I thought that's really cool because it's practicing thinking the way that they think, the words that they use, the things they choose to focus on or overlook, the dialogue they might use. That can be a really practical step. And the last practical tip is to place each character in a number of pretend scenarios and write down the 5 ways they might respond. Will they fight? Will they freeze? Will they go into flight mode? Will they fawn? Will they run away? Imagine all the possible ways they might react and write those down. And then choose the one that feels right for the story. All right, guys, have a good week. Have a great start to 2026, and I hope that this has been helpful today. If you've got some characters on a page in front of you, maybe sit down this afternoon and write a journal piece from the characters you've already developed. See what they think, see how they feel, see what decisions they might make. Put them in a fake scenario and see how they'd react. All right, guys, I'll see you soon. Bye.